It was one hell of a weekend for the Call of Duty League. I'm talking DDoS attacks causing playoff games to be played offline, multiple emergency substitutions, and even accusations of illicit gambling. All before one of the best series in the history of Call of Duty. This one was a bit of a roller coaster. Okay, so if you like news shows like this one, Don't At Me, you're gonna love our talk show over on Twitch at twitch.tv/theScore esports called Clouded. Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, Colin, Dan, Devin, and now even Josh Burry, we get together and we talk all the latest news so you can be caught up on everything going on with esports. So make sure you go over, give us a follow, and turn notifications on. Now, let's get back to this crazy weekend in Call of Duty. Much like the Overwatch League, the Call of Duty League continued its inaugural season online despite the COVID-19 outbreak. And this past weekend marked its first ever playoff matches. We're talking like the biggest event, the biggest prize pool in COD history.
Here, on the ultimate proving grounds, Call of Duty's elite converge. When that moment stares you in the face, you'll know one thing. Glory isn't given. Glory isn't easy. Glory is taken.
But as things got underway, well, there were some issues. The pro COD community had to deal with something they're actually not that unfamiliar with. Going back to the days of Advanced Warfare Pro Play online, DDoS attacks and mid-match booting of pro players. Basically, because the games were being played online, hackers would go in, DDoS attack, and boot a pro player from a live game at the highest level of play out there. This one was pretty crazy. And in the OpTic versus LA Guerrillas match, it actually got so bad that OpTic had to sub in a different player because Kenny had been booted multiple times already in the match.
Yeah, they also it looks like Kenny no longer in the server, so something happened there. So they're trying to do this 4 versus 5 right now.
I didn't see. When did he drop?
It's been about over a minute.
And as you might imagine, the pro community was pissed. Obviously, the competitive integrity of the games were being called into question, and pros were asking for things like postponing the event or boycotting it entirely.
A really long time ago, in a land when a world when dinosaurs roamed the earth, Advanced Warfare was a game, and in that there was an online league, and hitting people offline was an issue, so much so to the point where the league had to be restarted because it was impossible to avoid. Everyone's getting hit off again, and this has become an issue to the point where now it's impacting a $4 million tournament.
This tournament has a more than $4 million prize pool. By far the biggest payout in the history of Call of Duty. So for me, those frustrated tweets you're seeing, well, they kind of make sense. At minimum, from Twitter reports alone, at least 5 players had this problem. Literal DDoS attacks in the middle of the playoffs. Now, luckily for OpTic, the example I showed above didn't cost them the match. But many players have speculated if they were playing against any team other than the lowly LA Guerrillas, it could have been a different story.
They can close it out here. Slasher peeks the edge. It's all to Saints. Saints last man up. He's been spotted. Draza and TJ have got to get the trade, and there it is. The kill is in for OpTic. They're going to get the series win.
So, you're Activision Blizzard. You're put in this situation in the middle of the biggest tournament of all time, in your brand new league, in the middle of a global pandemic. What do? Well, their quick fix actually ended up being to start the matches offline. That way, these attackers couldn't get to the players live. Many players also started to scramble their IP addresses to make it even more difficult. So they made that change, and everything was fine. Until it wasn't. On August 21st, the third day of playoff competition, fans started to notice that scores were updating on the Call of Duty League playoff website before the matches had actually started on stream. Keep in mind, Activision Blizzard didn't tell anybody they were making this change. So as far as fans were concerned, these matches were just being played live. So when the Chicago Huntsmen were playing the New York Subliners and fans could see the results of the first 2 maps before the games had even started on stream, people were a little confused. And it's obviously awkward if you're a fan, right? You don't just want to see the score, you want to see the game. And it gets even more awkward when you throw gambling into the mix. This change was made pretty quickly. They didn't exactly have time to let Vegas know. So for a short while, you could bet on a game while already knowing the results of the first 2 maps. What's more is that some of the players being targeted by the DDoS attacks in the first place suggested that those might also be related to betting. You see, the league was hosting a special perfect bracket challenge that awarded $100,000 to anybody that had a perfect bracket all the way through the playoffs, similar to what, they do with March Madness in college basketball. The bracket challenge, coupled with the fact that all of these attacks were happening on hardpoint, a type of match where in the rules it's very difficult to replay them, make this all very sketchy. If you're a hacker playing in this bracket challenge and you want to, make your $100,000, you go and you target your DDoS attacks towards hardpoint so you can actually influence the results of those matches.
It's 150 total points. They were past that threshold. So basically this is to, kind of alleviate issues if it happens like the start of a game is really early in a game and somebody's plagued with that. Unfortunately, in this particular circumstance, it happens a bit deeper. But yeah, Joe, it sucks. There's no way around that, no way to hide from that. Feel for the OpTic guys right now.
And like I said off the top, booting and DDoS attacks have been a problem multiple times in the history of COD Online Pro Play. So it's baffling to me that this is even allowed to happen in the first place. Now, betting controversies and DDoS attacks aside, this weekend of Call of Duty was miraculously able to survive the controversies. By the time Sunday rolled around and teams were competing for their slot in next weekend's top 4 matches, fans were fucking pumped for some Call of Duty action. And a lot of that has to do with Sunday's match that pitted the new OpTic Gaming against the Chicago Huntsmen, which, aside from being a highly anticipated series with 2 good teams, had the added drama of pitting, obviously, the old face of OpTic, Scump, against an organization that is in many ways a shell of its former self. And what ensued was a 5-match bloodbath that peaked at more than 150,000 viewers on YouTube, that some people are calling one of the best matches in Call of Duty history.
He's trying to watch the flank. TJ gonna peek for a second, get some information, able to stay alive for now and has Daddy up. TJ now gonna push this. I have no idea how TJ gets through and finds both kills. But TJ makes the play. Envoy gonna peek from outside. The challenge is gonna come in. Scump's gotta reload. No one can finish the kill. Arcees picks up 2. It's all gonna be on TJ now. 1v1, and Huntsmen win it. Envoy gets the kill in the 1v1, and they move on. It's madness.
And when the dust settled, the Huntsmen were able to just squeak out a win and earn themselves a spot in next weekend's top 4 bracket. The Huntsmen, Dallas Empire, Atlanta FaZe, and London Royal Ravens will all be competing for the top prize of $1.5 million. And so after a week that started with DDoS attacks, complaints about the game, complaints about the rules, some questionable betting opportunities, we got one last awesome fucking match of Call of Duty. And I do have to note that so far, Activision Blizzard has released no statement on any of the drama over the weekend, including the DDoS attacks and some of these questionable betting things we're talking about. Now, while people were stoked about that last Huntsman match, there were no shortage of choice words on Twitter this past weekend about both the game, Modern Warfare, and the event itself. And I personally think that Seattle Surge's Octane might have won Twitter for this one.
I think we're here. I'm still please waiting, bro. I don't care. I will sit here this whole time, and it's gone.
So we actually lost the audio for this end board when Keith had to reshoot, so I'm just going to tell you guys the story instead. So it turns out that Keith and Dan actually ran into each other in downtown Toronto on Saturday, and Dan was telling us that Keith looked super pissed off. As it turns out, Keith had his tattoo artist double book him, so he had taken a trip all the way into downtown Toronto in the middle of a pandemic and still couldn't get a tattoo. That's it. That's the whole story.